The Winston Cup cars race today on their fastest super speedway, and NASCAR is trying to slow them down. We'll have qualifying action from Talladega. American short track stock car racing at its best is what you'll see live here on TNN later today. We'll check in on qualifying for the ASA race in Missouri. And Shirley Muldowney has some big news about her future plans. We'll go live via satellite to the NHRA California Nationals and talk with the First Lady of drag racing. This is TNN Motorsports Magazine for Sunday, July 28th, 1991. Good morning, everybody. I'm Pat Patterson. Thanks for joining us. The American Speed Association is competing this afternoon at I-70 Speedway just outside Kansas City, Missouri for the first time since 1988. We'll have the 300-lap race live here on TNN starting at 2 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. Bob Seneker has won the last 3 ASA events, and he knows the I-70 track, having won 4 previous pole positions there. Now let's take a look at how they qualified for today's race.
The AC Delco Challenge Series returned to the High Bank I-70 Speedway for the first time in 3 years. For most, it was the first time they had ever seen the ultra-fast half mile. Tim Steele's first good look at the track was delayed by a blown engine. The Texana Grill team pulled the engine out of their backup racer and installed it in the primary car. Basically, 2 engine changes by 5 men in under 90 minutes. Steele and Company completed the swap just in time for the qualifying session. Tim hustled the untested machine around the Odessa, Missouri facility for the 7th quickest time. The battle for the pole was a fiercely contested affair between the young Lions and the seasoned veterans. Youngster Johnny Benson Jr. went late in the session, but grabbed the inside of the second row with a 16.934. Mike Eddy, who loves the high banks, held up the honor of the veterans with a 16.930. Good enough to put the nationwide entry on the outside of the front row. This day, however, would go to the up-and-comers as Gary St. Amant turned a blistering lap of 16.836 and 115.467 miles per hour for the pole position.
It's fast racetrack, and we got this new Hinkernell Williams engine that just give us a little extra horsepower, and I think that's what's making us go so fast.
Unfortunately for Gary, his problems of late have not been with qualifying, but with getting the Rebestos Lumina to hold together for the distance. Starting from the front, it's one step closer to the checkered flag. For TNN Motorsports Magazine, I'm Ralph Shaheen.
All right, thank you, Ralph. Should be a great show. Bob Seneker leads the ASA point standings, but Scott Hansen is breathing down his neck. The former dirt track specialist talked with us via satellite from the Speedway a little earlier this morning, and I asked him what he had to do to come out victorious.
We didn't even practice the car that much. I told the guys when we were done running it yesterday that the car feels just like it did when we were down to Salem. You know, it's driving real good, and the car feels like I could just sit in it and drive it all day. So I think if we stay out of trouble, this I-70 Speedway is a pretty fast racetrack. Main thing is stay out of trouble and be around at the end.
I think a lot of race fans, Scott, have heard a lot about I-70 Speedway throughout the country because it is a very popular speedway. Describe the track for us a little bit and tell us about what you got to do to get around it quick.
Well, it's a pretty big half-mile track. Degrees of the banking must be about 35 degrees, somewhere in there. We run it in the high 16 seconds. So, I mean, you're traveling around here at probably 130, 40 miles an hour. So you got to try and run in the middle of the racetrack to the bottom if you can, but the cars are going so fast it's just about impossible to stay down to the bottom. And, you know, it's just one of those deals where you got to stay out of trouble more than anything.
You know, throughout America, Scott, there's so many guys that race on dirt, and of course that's where your roots came from, was dirt track racing. Did the experience you had on dirt really make that much difference in terms of being able to deal with these ASA guys?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a couple situations I've got myself into that dirt track helped a lot, you know, when it comes to having an ill-handling car or whatever. But no, I think just getting tied up with this Baker Motorsports team, you know, these guys are really good. They've been together a long time. They've got great equipment, and, you know, their pit stops are phenomenal. So I think you get a chance to watch that today, you'll see that what I'm talking about. You know, they get you in and out of the pits in a hurry, and that's what ASA racing is all about.
Well, of course, you know, the audience all knows at 2 o'clock this afternoon Eastern, they'll get a chance to see the ASA race live from Missouri. What about the competitors, Scott? This year, you guys have gotten more television coverage and more publicity than ever before, and of course, AC Delco, a big reason for that. What do the guys say about it? I mean, are a lot of people excited about being a part of ASA these days?
I don't know of too many guys here that aren't excited. Everybody's talking about the television, you know, what it's doing for the series, what it's about to do for the series in '92. I've been talking to a few people back home that are building new cars for '92 that, you know, that have been out of racing for 3-4 years because of the television and the coverage that's been going on here right now. And you know, TNN has been doing just a fantastic job of covering the races, and you know, we've all been told that by a lot of people too. So you know, with ASA and TNN, I think you're going to see a lot of real good races here through the end of '91 and into '92.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with NHRA drag racing after this break.
TNN Motorsports Magazine is brought to you in part by New Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car.
Welcome back, everybody. The 1989 NHRA Top Fuel champion Gary Ormsby has not raced in nearly 2 months because he's battling intestinal cancer. Former funny car driver Gordy Bond will fill in for him in the Castrol GTX machine. Everyone here at TNN wishes Gary a speedy recovery and a quick return to racing. Eliminations for the 12th NHRA National Event of the Year will take place in Sonoma, California today. Mark Allen has the qualifying action.
Darrell Alderman and Warren Johnson have dominated NHRA Pro Stock qualifying and eliminations this year. But Larry Morgan in the far lane got some help from Pro Stock's all-time leading winner, Bob Glidden, and the advice led to this track record run of 7:23 at 192.7 miles per hour. It was the Castrol driver's first #1 qualifying spot of the season.
Bob Glidden and I worked pretty close on the clutch together, and he made a run yesterday, and he helped me out on mine. And it turned around that I ran pretty quick the first session. I don't think that he had his quite right. In fact, I got to go over and help him right now, but we're working pretty close, and it worked. I mean, I went out there and I ran real fast, and I think that we can run real quick tomorrow also.
Mike Dunn and his Snickers funny car have been hot of late, and he's closing in on points leader John Force. The Dodge Daytona driver set himself up as the man to beat in California today with his track record run of 5:25 at over 279 miles per hour. Dunn has 3 NHRA wins so far this year, and he's looking for his second final round victory in a row. He commented on what he has to do the rest of the year to catch Force.
He's struggling a little bit right now. We got to go out there tomorrow basically and just win 4 rounds, and then whatever happens to him happens to him. If we win 4 rounds tomorrow, we'll have a good shot. Even if he's in the final, we'll still pick up some ground. That's the main thing. We want to try to get the Snickers Kmart Daytona to pick up some ground at each race, and by the end of the year, we'll win the Winston Championship.
Top Fuel points leader Don Prudhomme and the maroon and white Skull Bandit dragster laid down a near-perfect run in qualifying. The Snake became the first person to break the 5-second barrier at the Sears Point quarter mile when he ran a 494 at an even 288 miles per hour. This is Mark Allen reporting for TNN Motorsports Magazine.
All right, thank you, Mark. 3-time Top Fuel champion Shirley Muldowney hasn't competed in an NHRA elimination round since the first race of the year because of some financial difficulties, but she's back. The first woman to win a major auto racing championship joins us now live via satellite in our Roses Sky Shot. And first of all, good morning to you, Shirley, and it is great to see you back at the racetrack. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit as to why you haven't been at the racetrack?
Well, good morning, Pat. Actually, I've been out for several months. I spent some time with Dr. Trammell. We all know who he is.
As far as today is concerned, though, we're going to talk about new things and good things and getting the First Lady of Drag Racing back on track. Tell us what's going on.
Well, we fell short by a couple 100s here this weekend, but we're going to be really busy the rest of the year gearing up for 92. We've got a brand new sponsor, some wonderful backing from Petromolly out of Sugar Land, Texas. And we're really going to have our work cut out for us trying to get ready for the 92 and 93.
Shirley, what, you have always more or less been the organizer in your teams that you've been with throughout the years. What do you feel like it takes now to compete against the guys you've got to go up against? Because, just like this weekend, you guys ended up 18th in a 16-car field. And the work that's got to go into getting back to being competitive and being in those last couple of rounds each Sunday, there's a lot in front of you.
Well, as we all know, this sport is really spontaneous. At every racetrack you go to, the conditions are different, and you have to really, you know, get your act together. And it's, you know, we get the #1 award for trying, but what we need to do is fall back and regroup and do some developing and testing, and that's what we're going to be doing between now and the end of the year. We're going to run one more race, and we're going to get some time to test with Petrol Molly.
All right, for all the Shirley Muldowney fans now, will they get a chance to see you race many more races this year?
No, just one more, the World Finals, and then we'll gear up and come out for the opener, which is the Winter Nationals in Pomona.
All right, Shirley, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and good luck to you and to the new team.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, Shirley Muldowney. Let's take a look now at first-round pairings for the NHRA Autolite California Nationals. Welcome back, everybody. NASCAR's Premier Division has its last restrictor plate race of the year today. A big track in Talladega is the place. It's been a busy news week for present and past Winston Cup participants, and here are the details.
1990 was an excellent year for the Bob Whitcomb Racing Team, which won twice, including the Daytona 500. The team has fallen on hard times this year, and partly as a result, crew chief Buddy Parrott resigned early in the week. Parrott has 25 Winston Cup victories as a crew chief dating back into the 1970s. The team, which fields cars for driver Derek Cope, has just one top 10 finish so far this year. No permanent replacement has yet been named. The Wallace Penske team is also crew chief shopping. Jimmy Makar is leaving that position with the team to take the crew chief job with the new Joe Gibbs-Dale Jarrett team. Jarrett is Makar's brother-in-law. Makar will stay with Wallace until a replacement is hired. Head engine builder Harold Elliott departed the team within the past month. Former NASCAR greats were well represented among this year's inductees into the International Motorsports Hall of Fame in ceremonies seen Wednesday night on TNN. Tim Flock won 40 then Grand National races in the 1950s and was one of 3 brothers in NASCAR at the same time. The Golden Boy, Fred Lorenzen, drove for the famed Holman Moody operation, and besides winning 26 races, became the first driver to win $100,000 in a season in 1969. Joining them is Ned Jarrett, a 2-time national champion and host of Inside Winston Cup Racing.
Thanks to NASCAR for having an association, an organization that would let us go out there and do our thing that could maybe one day bring us to this kind of an honor. And thanks to Bill France Sr., the man who had that special dream that there would be an International Motorsports Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame is located next to the Talladega Superspeedway and is less than 2 years old. But its newness doesn't diminish the impact of being among this year's honorees.
This is something that's very special to me because, as you know, I not only had a heart transplant last year, but I happened to be with Bill France in the early 70s when he told me of this dream. I'd been with him in the middle 50s when he had a dream of building Daytona, and we were sitting laughing one day, and I says, well, you got Daytona built now, Bill, what's next? He says, well, we got to build a big speedway over in Alabama, and we've got to have a Hall of Fame. And I just wish he could be here to be a part of it.
Also recognized for their contributions to the sport were early pioneers Ralph De Palma and Wilbur Shaw. USAC greats Tony Bettenhausen and Billy Vukovich joined the 10 new inductees, as well as road racing standouts Phil Hill and Bruce McLaren. This year's inductees joined the 20 racing greats inducted last year when the Hall of Fame first opened.
And I was there for that, and it was a great ceremony. In late-breaking developments from Talladega, Coors has announced that they will not be back next year as a sponsor on Harry Melling's Fords, now driven by Bill Elliott. Coors has been associated with the team since 1984, making it the second longest continuous sponsorship on the circuit, and they gave no reason for the change. A company spokesman said that the performance of the team on the track was not a factor in the decision. This, of course, will further fuel speculation that Bill Elliott might drive for Junior Johnson's Budweiser Ford next year. Melling is seeking another sponsor, and he plans on staying in Winston Cup racing. The 7/8-inch restrictor plate will still be employed in today's race in Talladega, along with the new aero strips first used at Daytona earlier this month and an enlarged rear spoiler. All of this is aimed at slowing the Winston Cup cars down and making them more stable. Let's take a look at how they qualified. By winning the pole, Sterling Marlin becomes eligible for an $83,000 in Unocal bonus
that
money.
Everyone else had to shoot at. The Goodwrench Chevrolet turned a lap of nearly 191 miles per hour in the sweltering heat. Bill Elliott, who won at Daytona earlier this month, was fast in the Coors Light Ford, but the Georgia driver couldn't match Earnhardt's speed with a lap just 8 1/1000ths of a second slower. Mark Martin in the Folgers car got in a very good lap as the Ford seemed to maintain a slight advantage at the fast track. Martin came close to 192 miles per hour on his run. The speed was good enough to put him on the pole for the time being. However, that didn't last long. Just 2 cars later, Sterling Marlin in the Maxwell House Ford blasted around the tri-oval at 192.085 miles an hour to bump Martin to second and put himself in a position to win his second pole starting spot of the year, but there were still some big guns left to go. The biggest surprise of the day was Chad Little's time of nearly 191 miles per hour. This put the Californian in 5th spot on the grid and certainly made him a dark horse favorite to win a race known to have a number of first-time winners. Ernie Irvin in the Kodak Chevrolet knocked Little back to 6th when he went over 191 miles per hour on his qualifying run. The top 5 for today's Die Hard 500 are Marlin, Martin, Irvin, Earnhardt, and Elliott.
All right, let's go now. By winning the pole, Sterling Marlin becomes eligible for an $83,000 in Unocal bonus money if he wins today's race. On the front row for the Die Hard 500 are the Coffee Stars, Marlin and Mark Martin, both driving Fords. The second row is made up of Ernie Irvin, who has been running strong lately, and defending race champion Dale Earnhardt. Pepsi 400 winner Bill Elliott is next, with surprising Chad Little outside of him. In the fourth row, we find Davey Allison, the only 3-time winner of this year, and Pocono victor Rusty Wallace. Harry Gant, who won the spring race in Talladega, is 9th, and the Hooters Ford of Alan Kowicki is 10th. And here's the rest of today's starting grid. Welcome back, everybody. The IMSA GTP race in Portland, Oregon today is the third from the end of the season, and the once dominant Nissans are still 1 and 2 in the points, but they no longer are the fastest cars. Here's a preview of today's race.
Based on the most recent IMSA races, Toyota should probably be considered the favorite today. After all, Juan Fangio II took the Old Eagle to victory lane in Watkins Glen, and if he hadn't committed a late pit road violation because his radio had gone out, which cost him a lap, he would have won last weekend at Laguna Seca. So Fangio has a right to feel he's owed one. Jeff Brabham surely feels the same way about this weekend's race. 2 years ago, a flagman, who is no longer performing that job, waved the checkered flag several laps early. Bryce Cobb was in front then, but Brabham was in front at the end of the official race length. Red-faced IMSA officials declared Cobb the winner. Last year, the Nissan driver had a throttle hang open on the first lap. He was lucky nothing hard got in his way, but Brabham fell out later without scoring a point. It turns out since the race's inception in 1978, the Portland winner has gone on to win the championship every year except the last 2 years. The 3-time Camel GT champion knows he needs a good finish today.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the championships come down to the last 4 races, and you know, as I said before, now's the time to see who wants to get out and run with the dogs or who wants to sit in the porch with the puppies. You know, so the heat's on, and every race now is critical. We can't afford a bad race, and you know, Davey, myself, and Chip, you know, we're hard at it. So we're gonna see what happens when we go down to Del Mar. So I think it's going to go all the way.
While his teammate Chip Robinson is 7 points behind in the championship hunt, the man who has had the best car much of the year clearly is Davy Jones in his Jaguar. The gift victory at Laguna Seca notwithstanding, the Tom Walkinshaw Racing Team has 4 victories from Jones' heavy right foot. The Nevada resident also is the defending event champion and is just 19 points behind Brabham in the standings. The change in the rules for a single-car, single-driver concept for scoring points has got Jones' full endorsement despite his trailing in third position.
I think the whole point structure is coming down to where it's going to be a very close championship, and it's not easy. I think, you know, all the top leaders in the points are working very, very hard, and it makes it that much more challenging to capture that gold, which is the championship.
In the Camel Lights, Parker Johnstone put away the title last Sunday despite a sixth-place finish in his Acura Spice. The bragging rights for the manufacturer's title, however, are still very much up for grabs, with Acura just 9 points ahead of Buick.
All right, thank you, Mark. Folks, don't forget, TNN's live coverage of today's ASA race in Missouri is at 2 p.m. Eastern. Because of the race broadcast, we won't have a 3 o'clock p.m. update, but the all-new TNN Motorsports Magazine afternoon edition at 6:30 will talk with the winner of the ASA race, and we'll have highlights from today's Winston Cup events. Plus, we'll have boat racing, and we'll talk live via satellite with Lynn St. James, who's trying her hand at the grueling sport of off-road racing. We'll have our usual update at 8:25 p.m. We'll leave you with some of yesterday's racing results. I'm Pat Patterson. Enjoy your racing afternoon.
Guest of TNN Motorsports Magazine. Stay at the luxurious Charlotte Guest Quarters Suite Hotel. To make every stay extra special, call 1-800-424-2900. A promotional fee has been paid by Corporate Image. Corporate Image, the official supplier of sportswear for Motorsports Magazine, and with a complete line of items featuring Mark Martin and Bill Elliott. For a catalog or to order by phone, call 1-800-365-5834.